$1 million picks, week one, as always, presented by FanDuel. Brought in my buddy Joe House as the conciliary this year. I like having people to bounce my bets off. The funny thing about this job, House, I'll send you packing after 3 weeks if it's not working out. I don't care if we've been friends for 36 years. If it's not working, it's not working. I go where the green is for $1 million picks. Are you psyched? Are you ready to roll? How you feeling?
Well, you've sent me packing before, so it's not like anything that I wouldn't be used to. I'm pumped. I'm ready. I mean, we're coming off of a banner season last year. You know, on our weekly picks pool that we do on ESPN, I did kind of dominate. I did finish, like 40 games above 500 against the spread last year. So I'm ready to do my part here.
And I had a big hot stretch on $1 million picks last year after really hitting rock bottom. And I looked in the mirror, House, and I said, you know, instead of blaming other people, blaming quarterbacks, coaches, bad lines, stupid, I got to look in the mirror. Maybe it's me. What can I do more? What's wrong with my process? And I had a really strong last 10 weeks in the playoffs. And one thing that we've noticed over the last few years is you and I tend to gravitate toward the same types of teams and bets that we like. So we're going to run through a whole bunch of these. We're going to try to do groups. And the first group is stayaways. So these bets are not going to come up. And feel free to stop me at any point of these. But these are just ones that I looked at. I didn't like. It's too early. I want to see the team for a week. The line's fishy. Dallas, Cleveland. I just want to watch both teams. I want to see what's up with Deshaun. Don't you feel the same? I know you like Cleveland a little bit, but I just don't want to bet on Deshaun in week one.
So I did bet on Cleveland and Deshaun for week one, but it was early in the summer when Cleveland was getting points at home. Dallas was the favorite. That line has flipped, and Cleveland is now favored by, I think, a full 2 points. So I like being on the right side of that proposition.
You can hedge it the other way. I'm sure we'll screw up the hedge. We always screw up the hedges. So I'm staying away from that.
The pass rush against that Dallas offensive line, which is the worst offensive line, I think, since Dak has been there. That's what I like. I like that Cleveland pass rush at home.
Colts, Texans. I love the Texans this year. This line is a suspicious 2.5, and I'm staying away. I feel like I have too much invested in the Texans. It's a revenge game for the Colts. Richardson's all over the map. I don't know what to make him. Stay away. Bears, Titans. I want to watch both teams for a week. Do you have a sway on this one either way or no?
I think the line is too high. I don't know why the Titans are getting 4.5. I would be fine if it was Chicago by 3 or 2.5.
Yeah, it feels like it should be 3.5.
Fine.
Yeah. It feels stay-awish. Bucks, Washington is a game you like. Washington's getting 3.5 in Tampa, and you don't understand why the line is that high. I have some answers. Everything is new on the Washington side. I don't know what you're getting with, we should mention Washington's your favorite team. The Washington defense, I want to see how bad it is for a week. Tampa's got a little nobody believes in us, where it's just they made the playoffs last year and everybody's kicked them in the curb. It's a stay away from me. You like DC just a little bit here, right?
Tiny bit. I'm not gambling on that game. I just want to watch it and enjoy it. I want to watch Jaden Daniels do his thing. I want to see, some semblance of organization, some semblance of discipline, getting rid of all the dumb penalties and the dumb mistakes that I had to live with the last 20 years. Come on, Dan Quinn. Let's go, baby.
Well, you've done, and I've known you a long fucking time. You've done something very interesting with this Washington team. Like we've been in fantasy drafts. You didn't want to go near Jaden Daniels. You have a lot of eggs in the basket, and you're shockingly optimistic for somebody who's, you've been very honest about Alex Sarr, like when the Wizards will take weird draft picks, you're just like immediately like, I don't trust this. But with Daniels, you've been very coy. I feel like you're way in on this and you just don't want to admit it.
Well, it's not the admit part. It's the superstition aspect of it. Like the last time that we had a quarterback with these credentials, a lot of similarities to a very exciting electric player who could do things with his legs. And honestly, Jaden Daniels throws the ball as a rookie better than RG3 could throw the ball as a rookie. So I'm very over the top for Jaden Daniels, but I want my optimism to be guarded because I need my guard up as a Washington fan.
You've been hurt. That's what
I've been hurt.
Is.
True story.
Been
Dan
hurt.
Snyder.
You've had some bad sports relationships. Ovechkin worked out. That was a win.
He did.
Right?
Congratulations. And he's going to
there you
get
go.
that,
You had one
that
thing
record.
work out.
Yeah.
Saints Panthers. That line's moving toward the Panthers. It's now 3.5. I think we all like the Panthers. I don't think anyone likes the Saints, but that's now. I'm staying the fuck away from that.
Fine.
Seattle, Denver. We all love Seattle. I'm a tiny bit scared of Denver with this Bo Nix and Peyton, and they feel like a live dog to me. A lot of people are on Seattle, including me. I have them in multiple bets. That line's 5.5. It's in the Vegas zone. Half of me wants to parlay Seattle and put them with another team, but I think I just want to watch that one. Do you have a feel either way?
For sure, I'll be looking for ways to play Seattle on the money line.
See, now you even give me more conviction. It's just Denver goes up 7-0, and Geno. I'm staying away. I just want to watch it.
The problem with Seattle is the offensive line. I'm all the way in on every other aspect of Seattle, but that offensive line is a TBD, to be determined. So let's see it. Let's see it first.
And you talked on East Coast Bias about the Bo Nix Rookie of the Year odds, and who knows? You know, everybody's just, Caleb is basically even odds for Rookie of the Year. Your guy's 6-1. Harrison is getting drafted, the highest I've ever seen a rookie get drafted in fantasy drafts. I was in 3 in the last 3 days. And Bo Nix, who's like 25, who was in college for 100 years, who's got Sean Payton. I want to watch that for a week. Now, this last one was the final cut for us for $1 million picks, and it's a bet you like a lot. It's the Vikings and the Giants. It's a home game for the Giants. They are somehow underdogs. And I heard you say this on East Coast Bias. You like the Giants. I'm just telling you on $1 million picks, we don't bet two terrible teams against each other. You could do that on your own time. You could do it on an East Coast Bias. But you were pretty compelled by the Giants. So what was it?
Well, the case is basically Sam Darnold on the road. And, you know, there is this undercurrent of thought that Sam Darnold with Shanahan was able to, you know, because he was the backup in San Francisco, was able to address some of the things that was holding him back. But he is dreadful under every kind of situation and scenario. So really, it was just the idea of the best aspect of the Giants is their ability to put pressure up front. And Sam Darnold, under duress, even with all the weapons that he has, I just like the idea of it when it's basically a coin flip game and Giants at home. That was the reason for it.
Giants feel like a halftime bet to me against bad teams, where if they have a lead, then I kind of trust their defense and their pass rush maybe to bring the lead home. But I can't bet on Danny Dimes. And to me, it's a
I don't blame you.
It's a stay away. Okay. Let's go to the bets we actually do like. So $1 million picks. The format is this. We put a assigned number. It's fake money. We use the FanDuel lines.
It is?
Well, as far as the people know, it's fake money.
Okay.
But and when I've gotten into trouble, and I went back and I looked at some of the years, and especially in September, I get in trouble and I'm doing parlays and I just, one team will screw up like 2-3 bets for me. So we're going to try to keep them more straight up this year. There is a really fun FanDuel wrinkle that we're going to get to for week 1 where you can double your winnings.
Okay.
On any money line bet.
Let's go.
So any money line bet, and they could be favored, they could be underdogs. You just get to double whatever you want on it. We're going to be exercising that one. Use their 100% money line profit boost token. The games that we like. So we'll start with a tease. This is the only tease we have. I thought we'd only do one tease or parlay.
You just got through saying that the exotics are the reason that you got yourself in trouble.
We're only
off with
one exotic. The reason I'm kicking it off is it's the Friday night game. It's this weird Brazil game.
Great.
But the Packers line, which is 2.5 against the Eagles, neutral field, which is weird because I think just about everybody likes the Packers more than the Eagles, including me, including you. So they're getting 2.5. You can tease that up to 8.5 on a 6-pointer. And that allows us to then take the Bengals, who are -8, -8.5. It's somewhere in between those. It's been bouncing around. Take the Bengals under 3 against the Patriots, a team that for some reason, people just won't accept that this Patriots team is going to be terrible, that they can't block, that they have the worst quarterback in the league. I have no idea if their coach can even be a mediocre coach, much less not great one.
Did you just say they have the worst quarterback in the league? You think Jacoby Brissett's the worst quarterback in the NFL?
Who's worse than him?
I mean, did you watch Bryce Young last year?
Would you rather have Bryce Young or Jacoby Brissett?
Well, you're doing
Just for
franchise
right
building,
now, this
franchise.
year.
I mean,
This year, you'd rather have Jacoby Brissett?
I don't. What's the case for Bryce Young?
What's the case for Jacoby Brissett? Do you know in the 2020s, his career record is 6-10? This is for the decade. He's 18-30 for his career, and I think he's a nice backup.
You want to know Bryce Young's career record?
Well, Bryce Young's career record is bad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he's fine. He's in the conversation for worst quarterback in the league, and then their front four, which I think actually would have been good with Barmore and Judon. Both those guys are gone, and the Bengals Chase is coming back. But have you noticed? There's been some buzz on the Bengals side. That line was down to 7.5 at one point. Now it's back at 8.5.
Right.
So Packers plus 8.5, Bengals minus 2.5 is the first one I have circled. Talk me out of it.
I'm not going to. I think the Packers leg is especially compelling. I hate this game. I hate this game being in Brazil. The Eagles are losing a home game against somebody that they're going to be competing with for one of the top seeds in the NFC. I think it's bogus. And I don't know why the NFL chose Brazil. Like, not great stuff happening there really since the Olympics. But set aside the socio-political aspect.
I didn't realize. I didn't realize we were on cable news.
10 hours away. Like,
no,
what
it's
are
ridiculous.
Come on.
They'll take a check from anybody. That's what I said. I said in last week's pod. I just feel like Saudi Arabia is in play, or Abu Dhabi.
No doubt.
Goodell will take a check from literally anyone.
I think you're right. But handicap-wise, you and I are in agreement. I think the Eagles and the Packers are close. And so getting any kind of points on the Packers side is positive to me. The big unknowns for both teams are their defenses, both teams with new defensive coordinators, and especially the secondaries, because the Eagles,
I would say the Eagles I'm a little more worried about from a pass secondary standpoint. It's weird. I could see a bunch of snares in this game, and none of them are the Packers losing by double digits. I could see them blowing out the Eagles and us being like, holy shit, the Eagles, whoa, where's this going? And I could see a really close game. It feels like a one-score game to me. So
I do like on the Eagles side, all of that offensive weaponry that they bring to the table. I love Saquon. You know, Saquon.
That's what you're calling him now?
Saquon D's nuts. Yes. Yeah. That's right. Here we go, baby.
Jesus.
$1 million dicks.
We graduated from college in 1992. What are you doing?
Boom.
All right. So tease Packers plus 8.5, Bengals minus 2.5. We are going to bold that one. Next one. Well, we're cheating because I know you love this, as do I. But the Jaguars are in Miami. I've already violated one rule, is that I didn't want to go overseas with any bets. And if the Packers lose by like 20, I am done with overseas betting on $1 million picks. This is my little tester. Okay. Another one I don't love is betting on these games when it's potentially going to be super hot or humid in Florida or Carolina. We've seen those games go sideways over and over again. With that said, a Jaguars team that I really like, that I think is going to make the playoffs, a Miami team that I don't really like, that I don't think is going to make the playoffs. And then you look at Miami, no Chubb, no Odell Beckham, left guards out, D-backs are banged up. Waddle and Tyreek have had the flag next to them all week, but they're playing. And then there's this Jaguars redemption season, 8-3 last year, and then just all shit broke loose. And Lawrence had all these injuries, and this just feels to me like a Jaguar. I like the money line too, but at the plus 3.5 is a gift. I want to grab the points.
It's a full point inflated. And I think that's a function of how the Jaguars ended their season on that 1-5 tilt.
Yeah.
And, just the speaking of weaponry, what the Dolphins bring to the table. Here's the important thing on the observation you made about these early season Dolphins games and the advantage they have. They're playing another Florida team.
Right.
Jacksonville's been practicing in it. They're ready for it. That corollary applies to just about every other team in the country, but not Jacksonville. So
it's like Jacksonville and Carolina, maybe Miami would be the only teams that are like, oh, I'm used to this weather.
Yeah.
What about, does your team count?
Tampa would be in there. My team is close. Yeah. But we're even right now about 8 or 9 degrees behind Miami at the moment. So it's going to be hot and humid down there.
We've come to visit you many times in DC. There was one time Jacko and I came, and it was still the hottest I've ever been. And I've been in Vegas and Arizona and all these different places. And we tried to walk around and go see the Capitol.
Yeah.
And we were like, honestly, I thought Jacko was going to die. In fact, I think he might have. I think he died and was reincarnated.
90% humidity.
But Jags, I just like the Jags more than Miami. And if you're backing them for the season as a possible 10-win team, this is a game they have to win. And Miami, they lose this one. It was like, we had some injuries. Oh, it's all right. Wake up call. Here we go. All right. So we're marking that one down. Next one. The Cardinals are in Buffalo. This line also seems a little too high. It bounced around. It got down to 5.5. Now it's back up to 6.5. There's cheap touchdown potential, which I love, where they could be down 10, 11, 12. They get like the last 3 minutes of the game touchdown. I think their offense is going to be moving the ball the whole game. I like getting points, getting more than 4 points with a team that has a good offense. And I'm not sure what to make of this Bills team yet. And, this was probably my biggest regret of the over-under pod, taking Pittsburgh over Buffalo as my last playoff team. But I was so scared off by the Bills defense and some of the uncertainty they have, $60 million in dead cap space, and them relying on rookie receivers and guys who were third receivers last year as like major third down weapons. I like the Cards to hang around in this game. Where do you stand?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. And, here we are starting off another season with this Buffalo defense with Matt Milano on the shelf. And you sit down if you want to put on some blinders and think about the impact of Milano on that defense, the splits between when he's on the field and off the field, you can get a very good perspective on it. And so there's just a lot of question marks on the Buffalo defensive side. Plus,
their whole secondary is different.
Right.
Which
brand new secondary.
Maybe it won't be that much worse, but it's a complete reboot. And from a pass rush standpoint, I don't know, they're probably in the middle of the pack.
You did it. Pass rush. You just did it.
Pass rush.
You did it. Well, there's some good trend stuff out there, too. Kyler Murray getting 6 points or more, 11-5 against the spread. Josh Allen, not great as a favorite. Josh Allen, when favored by 4 points or more, 8-16-1, 25 times, 8-16-1. So we just love the backdoor cover action for this. I mean, a nice backdoor week one. That's a great way to start it.
I like the Cards' weapons. They were popping up in all the fantasy drafts I did.
Yeah.
They must have had 5 guys had actual money spent on them. Trey McBride was probably the number 3 tight end in any draft I was in. So there's some good Arizona bets here, and I want to talk this out with you. We could just take the 6.5. We could also get super ambitious, take the money line plus 215, and then add that FanDuel thing to it, so it would actually be plus 430. That's on the table. There's a couple alt bets we could do. We could pull Arizona up to 11.5 on FanDuel, go with the over, bring that down to 42.5, and that's basically even money minus 103. We could take Arizona to plus 8.5, so it basically have to be a 2-score win for Buffalo. Bring the over to 39.5, and that's even money. So you could say Arizona plus 8.5, 40 points and up, we win. Or just take the 6.5 and call it a day.
My preference at this stage of the season, I mean, there will be, and this is kind of a recent development, a bunch of unders. Unders will be the prevailing story here. We are now in this era of quarterbacks sitting out the entire preseason. A whole bunch of teams had their quarterback. So you'll see across the board. Now, the counter to that is the new kickoff rule. And what impact will that have? Will it make scoring easier? But
see, I think it's going to make the scoring go up, don't you? It feels like the field position is going to shift up. That's why I like the overs here.
So how do you do that? Measure that against kind of some of the other factors about early in the season. I think Arizona is going to try and run the ball. I think that's part of their strategy here. So I'm inclined to stay away from the total and just grab the points because they know they can't defend. They have the worst defense in the league, personnel-wise. Gannon is not a big dummy. I actually was so impressed with Gannon last year.
Me too. The Eagles fans badmouthed him forever and ever, and then he turned out to be a good coach. All right, so we'll stay on the plus 6.5. Okay.
Yeah.
There's one more bet that I thought was fun. Arizona wins with the over of 49.5. So it's basically Arizona wins 27-24, and that's almost 5-1 on FanDuel, plus 474. So I like that one. Had that one marked down. Okay, two more. Pittsburgh in Atlanta. Pittsburgh, this has been 2.5, then it got to 3. It was stayed at 3 for a while, and now Pittsburgh is plus 3.5 in Atlanta. And I think there are 5 people that like Pittsburgh heading into week 1, just in general, and I'm definitely one of them. Craig Horlbeck, my Rewatchables producer, host of the Fantasy Football Show, even he's out. He's like, our offensive line's in shambles. Anyway, make the case for Pittsburgh, and we'll see if we agree on this.
Well, it's very simple. The best head coach in the NFL over the last 20 years as an underdog is Mike Tomlin. And we're going into a situation where there are question marks, yes, on the Pittsburgh offensive side of the ball, but there are question marks galore on both sides of Atlanta. Under what scenario is the Atlanta offense, with the weapons that you see on paper, ready for prime time? How will we know that Kirk Cousins is going to be able to come out and be effective in any way, shape, or form? They're going up against a top 5 defense. Here's the thing about this game that, to me, just sets it up perfectly. When I sit down and put side by side the units and compare the units, we're comparing units here, BS. The Pittsburgh defense is absolutely, positively, unequivocally so much superior to anything on the Atlanta side of the ball. So you're giving me Tomlin as a dog. You're giving me this Pittsburgh defense that is ready for battle. And we're going up against a whole bunch of unknown. I mean, Atlanta's gotten the benefit of a lot of popsicle sucking this offseason. The prohibitive favorite to win the NFC South. Well, congratulations. It's time to play football. The Pittsburgh Steelers are coming to town, and Mike Tomlin has heard people badmouthing the Steelers all summer long. Let's play some football.
The funny thing is, I told House before, like, hey, we're going to do Guess the Lines. Let's make it seem like it's one of our phone calls. Don't get too excited. Pittsburgh's the nobody believes in us team. That's clear. Nobody believes in Pittsburgh. People have shit on them for the last 3 weeks, to the point that they were one of my favorite picks for them to make the playoffs, one of my favorite Zags. And even I had real doubt. I was like, maybe I should take them Buffalo. There's an Arthur Smith revenge factor.
Amazing.
Pittsburgh offensive coordinator. I'm guessing he knows Atlanta really well.
Couple of them.
We should mention Jaylen Warren's hurt. I think we'll be okay. We have Najee Harris. You made the key point about Atlanta. So Cousins hasn't played in a year, right? Now, you could say the same thing about Rodgers, a guy that I really like. But Cousins actually got hurt, 5, 6, 7 weeks later in the season than Rodgers did. Pitts is hurt, but supposedly playing.
Congrats.
I looked up the Atlanta, who are your receivers not named Drake London. It's pretty rough. Like, they kind of need a giant Darnell Mooney here. I've watched Darnell Mooney. I'm not sure that's happening. But you made the key point earlier. I think Pittsburgh's defense is the best in either conference. I think they have the number 1 defense. And I think this is a really tough spot for Atlanta. I think there's going to be Pittsburgh fans there. I think the Pittsburgh defense, which has no injuries that I could find, is going to be fucking fired up. And Cousins is a 500 quarterback. That's who he's been his entire career, is a 500 quarterback. So I like this spot for the Steelers D. Get a lead. Russ, no turnovers. Maybe 2 deep shots to Pickens downfield. But other than that, just steer the car.
That's all. That's all
drive the car.
Asking for. Exactly.
It's like Kamala right now. Just steer the car, Kamala. You don't have to give a 5-hour podcast interview. Just steer the car. Steelers plus 3.5.
Yes.
I love it. There's some alt stuff. You could do Pitt money line with the under of 47.5, get over 2-1. You could do Pitt up to 4.5, under 51.5 even odds, but I just like the plus 3.5. Last one. What?
Go ahead.
No,
I like that money line and under combo. I think that's a pretty good one. Money line and under 47. I think that's pretty enticing.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks coming back from Achilles injuries, the Jets in San Francisco Monday night, that line has moved all over the place. I think it was at 6 at one point. It went down to 4.5. It went down to 4. It went down to 3.5.
3.5, yeah.
Now it's bumped back up to 4.5 because Ayuk's back, Trent Williams playing all of a sudden. I'm just in on the Jets. I especially like it's a healthy Jets team. And I think they can win the game outright. I think it's going to be a bloodbath. And there's so many stats against the Niners this season. The Super Bowl hangover.
Yes.
The fact that they've had this window now that's now been a few years, right? They had unbelievable health luck last year with their best offensive players. McCaffrey's already, limping around. We don't know where we're getting from him yet. Their rest schedule stuff is really bad. Their division's going to be better. And it's one team that I think is like kind of a dark horse, maybe even to miss the playoffs, but definitely to maybe not win the division. Everyone has them penciled in versus a team that I think is going to win their division. And I like the Jets. And I wish I didn't because it feels like a sucker bet. Jets plus 4.5. What do you think?
So I'm scared of this game now. I had a lot stronger feeling about it when it seemed like Trent Williams wasn't going to play. But now, I like the Jets very much. On East Coast bias in our AFC East preview, couldn't believe that I was advocating for them to win the AFC East, but I believe that to be the right position. Against this San Francisco team that now feels like it might have a little bit of nobody believes in us.
No, everyone's picking them to win the division.
Well,
they're
the division,
the third best odds in the NFL. I don't think they qualify.
Okay, all right.
I think it was more of a we don't have Ayuk, we don't have Trent Williams, but now it's like we have everybody. We're fine. Here we go. I just don't like
that. That's what makes me nervous. Like
also,
we kind of know who they are. They're very good.
First round pick got shot right before the season started. It's just like the stuff adds up where it's like, I don't like the vibe. I know, but I don't know.
That's just mojo stuff. I want to see the Jets. I want to see that Jets offense. When's the last time we saw like 3 great Jets drives? That's what let me see. So that I'm in a stay away mode now, like that number on 4.5, like prime Vegas zone. I just don't want to get involved. I like the case for the Jets. I like the Jets defense a ton. And I do think, we look like Purdy. I don't know. We're not going to overdo what we saw in the preseason. I didn't love it, but it's the preseason. So I do think Shanahan's going to have some great scheming for that Jets defense. I do trust Shanahan much more than I trust Bobby Saleh.
Big shot Bob?
Big shot Bob. But I'm going to stay away from this one.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, you're on $1 million picks, and we're not staying away. I feel like that line should be 3. Yeah. I feel like that line should be 3, and it's an extra 1.5, and I'm taking it.
Okay.
And that's where I bet mentally when I do better versus where I don't do as well. If I'm just looking at the line and it just seems off like that, I really genuinely think it should be 49ers by 3. I think they're even teams. But people don't believe in the Jets yet, so we'll find out. Okay. Last one that we like, the Lions 3.5 over the Rams. And what's beautiful about this FanDuel double your winnings in any money line bet special is we can bet on this Lions minus 198 and double what we win. So the bet is the money line is minus 198. If you win $100 back. We're doubling that. So now we're basically making this an even money bet on the Lions. And you know what? As the Colonel James once said, thank you, Eddie.
Thank you, Eddie.
Colonel
James Lock of the Week.
Thank you, FanDuel. We're doing the Colonel James Lock of the Week.
All right.
But thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Eddie, for helping us out. We're going to take the Lions minus 198. Then we don't have to deal with the hook. I do want to follow this year that hook, though, that minus 3.5, being afraid of that. All right. Here's the pick where we argue about, because there was one more game I liked and you were violently against it. And we'll probably not do it. But I love the Chargers minus 3 over the Raiders. And you love the Raiders over the Chargers. So what's the Raiders case, out of curiosity?
just their defensive line and the pressure that I expect them to be able to bring against a guy that hasn't played any preseason snaps because his foot was banged up and no noteworthy weapons on offense, a bunch of no names. I don't like the idea of Herbert limited in any way, shape, or form with Max Crosby running free. And he's going to be running free because they have Christian Wilkins now. And that to me is a scary proposition. If I thought the Chargers could try and establish the run, could run the ball, then I would say, okay, let's try and make the case here. But these guys are going to pin their ears back and they're going to go after Justin Herbert and his beautiful flowing locks. And I'm worried. I'm worried for the Chargers. I'm worried for all the Jim Harbaugh enthusiasm. This week one might be a dose of cold water.
I'm so excited that you called him Jim Harbaugh and not John. Because you've dropped about 10 Johns on East Coast. Like the Jim John Harbaugh thing, I think I'm bad with my pronunciations. You're way worse than I am.
Well, I'm just going to call him Harbaugh, and it doesn't matter. If we could say it's Harbaugh, will be right every time.
Which one's older? Is Jim older?
I feel like Jim's older. He looks older.
So just call him old Jim Harbaugh. And young John.
Old Harbaugh and young Harbaugh.
Or old young, yeah. I completely disagree. I think the fact that the Raiders beat them 63-21 in mid-December last year and got everybody's ass fired, and I think older Jim is walking around the locker room. He probably put the fucking box score up on the chalkboard and was like, "Hey, remember that? Remember that one?" So here's what we're going to do, because if we violently disagree, that becomes a stay away, but we're going to call it the argue pick. We probably need a better name for the argue pick. Yeah, we just can keep track of these. So our first one is Chargers -3. This is going to be a separate bucket. There's no money. And we'll see how it goes when we violently disagree with each other. All right, let's do it. $1 million picks, round one. We're going to bet 200,000 on each.
200,000. Right? That's the number. Let's go.
Let's see how this goes. We're going to try to keep it simple. For the most part, straight up bets, but we're going to allow ourselves one exotic. And then FanDuel's helping us out with the Thank You Eddie bet. First one, Jaguars +3.5 in Miami. We're big in the Jaguars. We're not big on Miami. Trevor Lawrence comeback season?
Trevor Lawrence comeback season.
He's my only fantasy QB in the draft that I've had with my high school and college buddies since 1990, the Jim Grady, Rob Stone crew. Trevor Lawrence, that's it. That's how much I love Trevor Lawrence. Jaguars +3.5, 200,000. Cards +6.5 against the Bills in Buffalo. We like the Cardinals offense to hang around. Some cheap touchdown, backdoor potential. The backdoor is always open, Joe House.
Backdoor is always open.
Cards +6.5. We're going to take Pittsburgh, the nobody believes in us, Pittsburgh Steelers. And the best unit, not only in this game, but maybe one of the best units in the league, Pittsburgh's defense. Mike Tomlin, king of the underdogs, +3.5 in Atlanta. We don't trust the Atlanta Falcons yet, plus 200,000 on that. The Jets. The only one, Joe House, was a little, but I think I'll talk you into this by Monday night. Jets +4.5 against San Francisco. I just don't like San Francisco's offseason and all the drama, and I think the Jets are focused. This is, to me, I like one team way more than the other team. Line should be 3. It's 4.5. I'll take the points. Okay, 2 more. FanDuel gave us the Thank You Eddie special and said, any money line bet, if you win, you double the win on the bet. So we took the Lions -198 at home against the Rams. We don't have to worry about the points. Just go do your thing. You have all your games indoors this year. You should be the number 1 seed in the conference. This is a team that almost beat you in the playoffs. Do your thing, Detroit, right? This is it. Show us. What do you got? What do you got?
You know, Trojan is a sponsor of East Coast Bias.
Is that true?
It's true. Yes. Oh. I mean, I think it's very wise that you don't let me do the ad reads.
Yeah.
Or maybe not a sponsor, but
I might have had to send a couple emails about that.
Probably
don't let Joe House do the ad reads.
Good. But look, this is the way I feel about that Detroit pick.
Yeah. We love the Lions. Lions -198. You double your win. So if you bet 200,000 on this, which we are, and we win, guess what? We're in the positive on the actual win. It works out to like 203,000. Last one exotic, a tease. Packers teased up to plus 8.5 in Brazil. We'll see how that goes. Team's not allowed to wear green. Team's not allowed to tweet. A lot of smog. Everyone's
Can't go
in their
out of the
hotel
hotel
rooms all day. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be fine. We think it's at least a close game. Packers plus 8.5. And we're going to tease that with the Bengals down to minus 2.5 against my beloved New England Patriots. Am I too down on the Pats?
I just want to say, for the record, it'll be the funniest thing of week 1 if the Patriots beat the Bengals.
And I'm like back in. I just do my classic 180. I'm like, I knew it.
It'll ruin everybody's survivor pool.
Yeah.
I mean, and look, that defense, I know they're down Barmore and Judon, but it was still, you get Forbes back, right? Like, still pretty good defense.
It's going to be a disaster.
Cincinnati likes to come out and play with their food week 1. Play with their food, Bengals.
This year, Zach Taylor is like, maybe I should take the preseason a little more seriously. Had the people in pads, was having people hit, like played people in a preseason game. Packers plus 8.5, Bengals minus 2.5. Both have to cover, put 200,000 on that. And those are the $1 million picks for week 1.